So this is how we're gonna do it at the beginning. Introduce ourselves. I'll lead it in. I'll say blah blah blah. Not literally. Don't quote me on that. Um, and then
You're gonna say
Joe,
blah blah blah.
Mr. Joe Brown, I have a quote here from you from October 30th, 2018, where you stated blah blah blah, and then you stated, "Don't quote me on that." Is this true?
I plead the fifth, officer. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another steaming hot edition of Cup of Joe's. I am your host, Joe Brown, joined by my best friend, Joe Parian. And
Joe Brown.
we are actually not alone this week, Joe. We have a first ever guest on Cup of Joe's, our good friend Chris Schnabel. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. I'm honored to be the first guest.
First
Good
guest of many, or depending on how this goes, the last guest. So
Oh
Yeah.
my God!
it's
Okay,
I'll make
The
sure I'm
first-
the one and only.
there's a
Chris, you
lot
are
of pressure.
the first and last guest to ever be on our show because this is the last episode ever. Bye.
Bye. So, Chris, we all of us went to college together, and Chris, we were communication majors together. Spent a lot of time. We're still good friends and everything. I hope, fingers crossed. And he created a website and a production called Offstage. So, I just want to give us a little spiel real quick about it.
Yes,
Yeah,
Chris, tell us,
so
tell us-
Offstage is a documentary series about artists, musicians, comedians, show hosts, things like that. We follow them around in a day in the life, and everybody that is featured in Offstage is an up-and-coming artist. So you're not going to see any household names there, but you get to see what it's like to be an up-and-coming artist, what you have to do to try to make a name for yourself.
Okay,
You're gonna have Joe Brown on it for the podcast, like up and coming
Yeah,
Joe Brown.
he's the show host.
It's like, what a turn of events. The next episode's actually about me.
It's
That's
it's
why
about him
Schnabel's
plugging
here.
his podcast.
Yes.
For 20 minutes.
So we'll talk more with Chris about Offstage in a little bit, but let's get started with something that everyone can be hyped for, and that is Smash Ultimate, coming out December 7th. We don't have to talk about the leaks, but have you guys seen anything regarding leaks recently? I don't want to spoil you on it if you haven't.
Oh, I haven't, but I want you to tell me.
Chris?
I've seen just about everything that goes with that game, so
Chris is the one leaking all the information. You know that?
yeah.
Wait, so
I
have you
still-
heard
I still
about-
have copies of it.
Have you heard about the recent thing with like the 5 new characters
from the original
from the Snapchat from the Grinch guy?
Oh no, that see?
What?
Not even I
Okay,
knew everything
so
about
there
it.
is a leak, and we'll be very brief with this because we don't know if it's real or not, but it seems credible. A guy who works for like a marketing company in France had a Snapchat and was just like panning over things, and somebody saw in the Snapchat like the battlefield backdrop, where everyone is here and there's all those characters on it.
Yeah.
They saw that, and they saw new characters in it. So like Shadow the Hedgehog and Geno from Super Mario RPG, and like there's a bunch of stuff in it. And people were like, "What? Is this real?" And so his marketing company he worked for has worked with Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco is working with Nintendo on Smash Ultimate, and and in the background in the Snapchat are promotional items for the new the Grinch movie. And it turns out, by looking up this guy's LinkedIn page, he works for that company, and that company is handling marketing for the Grinch movie coming out. So it's all starting to line up and stuff. But so we won't talk too much because we don't know if it's real or not. I'm sure we'll find out very soon if it is or not. But instead, Chris, I'd like to ask you, who is your main in Smash throughout the years, and who is a character you would like to see added to Smash Ultimate?
Like to see added. I'm not. They've added so many. I don't know if there's any more that I can even go to without going. Maybe Goku. Is Goku supposed to be in it?
No,
Maybe-
Goku was not one of the 5.
I don't know who to go to. Maybe Goku. My old go-tos were when, like, the original ones. I was Mario, because I was that basic kid that would go with Mario in every Mario game. But as the years went on, I was more of a Link guy. I went with Link a lot, and the newest one, Link is my online character that I play with when I am beating people online.
I've felt the
one-on-one.
wrath before.
When you want to put the smack down.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was putting the smack down on these kids, they went with Link.
I love beating up 12-year-olds on the internet.
No, if they're 12, they're probably beating me because it's video games. So
Yeah, right. They have they have the armor at 12 years old. They're great at Call of Duty. They're great at Smash Brothers. It's
Yeah.
when you get older is when you lose those skills.
it's once you leave those
Yeah.
teenage years, you lose all your video game skills. It's
So
actually a
are you
proven
gonna
fact.
play Link in Ultimate? He's changed a little bit. Like his kit's a little different now.
Yeah, I saw he changed a little bit. I'll still start out with them. I like trying out new characters and seeing who I'll be good with. And I know a lot of the I think all of actually the DLC characters are going to be available in this game. So I didn't get any of the DLC characters because I'm not like rich or anything. So I can't go get DLC characters.
I'm not pulling
that.
gold out of my apartment. So.
I can't pull the gold out of my pocket and give it to the game. So I want to try out some of the DLC characters and see what they're like as well.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
What about you, Joe?
I actually just want to make a comment. If they put Shadow the Hedgehog
Oh my god.
instead of Big the Cat in this game, I will be mad.
I hate you so much. I was about to say like yes girl, yes, but now I don't know what to say to you.
I really hope they don't put any of the other Sonic characters in the game.
Why? I love all of the Sonic characters.
I do too, but leave it at the
You're
Smash.
telling me they're gonna put other Sonic characters, but there's no Mrs. Pac-Man?
There's no way.
Totally.
There is no way they're gonna do Mrs. Pac-Man and Mr. Pac-Man. Like,
Oh, why not? Why not? They're literally.
it's just a ribbon. It's like, and lipstick is the only difference.
Hey, Joe Brown, aren't there characters in Smash? Aren't they like shadow characters or something? Where they're literally the exact same character, just a different color?
They're called Echo Fighters, and they have
And?
some differences. Like they have different hitboxes or some different frame data a little bit on their attacks. But yes, they're based off the same thing. But Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man would
Maybe
make
Mrs. Pac-Man hits harder. Maybe Mrs. Pac-Man's mouth.
they would
opens
make
better
more
to
sense as
tunnel
like
people.
ice climbers if they're together than wasting a roster slot on Mrs. Pac-Man.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. Going back to the original question though.
I got a question for Joe though. So
what's up?
Mr. Game and Watch, is Game and Watch his whole last name?
Oh damn. Well, no, I think it's his last
I
name
don't
is
know.
Watt. I think it's no. I think it's no. I think like because sometimes you get introduced as like Mr. Joe Parian, so maybe it's and maybe like Watch is the or Game is the first name, and is the middle name, and Watch is the last name.
Well, it's the and symbol. It's not even the like
It's
word.
the
and.
ampersand or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's his middle name, like Harry S. Truman. His middle name was just
Like
S.
Prince.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Game, symbol formerly known as and Watch.
Well, what if it was like a sarcastic remark would be like, oh, like look at Mr. What's his face over here? Like someone saw him holding a watch and playing a game, and they're like, oh, look at Mr. Game and Watch over here.
Yeah.
I was late. It took Joe a little bit. I'll be here all week, people.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
Okay.
Wait. So Joe,
Thank you.
who are you gonna play in Ultimate?
I'll probably play Link, because he's my boy.
Damn right.
You know that.
Oh.
I'll probably play some Sonic too, 'cause I do like his character a little bit. Who's my other go-to? I haven't played Smash. I do want to try playing Big Scary Raiden. No. Big Scary Purple Pterodactyl Lady.
Ridley?
Ridley, there it is.
Raiden?
Raiden's from
Yeah,
Metal Gear
dragon.
Solid. I
Ridley,
want that character in it, the naked guy from Metal Gear Solid 2.
him with Snake. Like Snake calls him out as an assist. That'd be pretty funny. Looks like I'm gonna main whoever counters Link, cause I need my best chance against you two. But I'll still probably just stay as Sheik. Like I've been a Sheik main since Melee, and then if they add Shadow, like mark my words, I will main
what's gonna
the
make
hell
him
out of
different than
Shadow.
Sonic? What's
They'll
gonna
probably
him
make him a
different
little
than Sonic?
slower and a little stronger. Like that'll be the difference. You know what I mean?
Are they gonna give him a gun?
Fox has one.
In 18, that's right. Fox has a gun. It doesn't
Yeah.
shoot. It doesn't shoot bullets though. That's the difference.
Shoots lasers. Lasers. are
Shadow,
worse than
Shadow
bullets.
shooting AR, whatever.
Shadow shooting an Uzi that he was given in the game.
Oh man, people crap on that game, but like it was pretty fun. It only took like 2.5 hours to beat, but thankfully
It
that was
pretty fun.
thankfully that was the era of Blockbuster where I beat it. I picked it up on a Friday night and returned it Saturday morning, and I beat it. So, yeah, I guess I'll show you some more stuff offline on this whole Smash leak theory because it's getting super intense and people are looking up other like search histories and things like that. So, but we'll move on to our next topic here, which is about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Now, for those who aren't our usual listeners, I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I'm very involved with the competitive Pokemon community.
Wait a minute.
What?
Go around.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me you're into Pokemon? I had no idea.
I was trying to keep it light and civil and not embarrass myself with my passion for Pokemon. But yes, Joe, I'm quite the fan of the Pokemon.
So can you name like
that was nice.
Can you name like all the Pokemans?
If you give me images in like a couple minutes, maybe. No, I bet you I could name. There's like 808 or something like that. I bet you I could name 700 of them.
700.
Like if you just flash an image in front of me, you know what I mean. If I had more time to think about it, maybe I could get to like 750 or something. But I've seen every Pokemon.
There's that many now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mess.
It's like a part-time job trying to get through this. There's an app that actually like has things come up so you can try to do it as quickly as possible. Like they'll show you an image and then put 4 Pokemon names underneath and they're floating and you got to try to click and get through them all. It's like
oh my god.
Yeah, and then there's
sounds like those apps that show the color and you have to like, it's like it'll say red and blue and you have to say, it says what does it spell?
Right, and like they'll do things with typing. So if you have, let's say, Charizard, who's fire and flying, right? You have like there'll be different types floating around. So there'll be like 10 different types, and you got to click on it, and you make sure you see fire and flying, and so you move on to the next thing, or you do types that are super effective against the Pokemon, which is even more, of a brain tease. Like so, it gets very in depth with all of this. But that's not what we're talking about. That's the hardcore level. We're gonna go to the extreme opposite end of that, which is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Last week, Junichi Masuda had an interview with Eurogamer. It made the rounds in the Pokemon community because of the headline or the main quote that was in the article, which is, quote, "I'd be really sad to think that for fans, Pokemon is just hatching eggs." And we'll include the article below. But basically, it's him saying that Pokemon fans, or how their Pokemon games are meant for kids, right? That's their core demographic. That's who they're trying to target the games toward. Kids nowadays don't have the same attention span because of the mobile gaming market, and so they're trying to make this game, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, more mobile friendly or more modern kid friendly, right? So even in the article, he talks about how back in the day it might have taken you 30 or 40 hours to beat a game, and how kids play mobile games now. Like, you'll play for a short time, and if it becomes too challenging, you're just going to move on to something else. So they're trying to get rid of the challenge there, which we all understood is what they were going for. But the big problem with like the dismissive line of "I'd be really sad to think that for fans, Pokemon is just hatching eggs," because there is a large portion of the community that is very into the competitive aspect. Like when they first learn what a new Pokemon is, they see its design and then they immediately ask what's its ability, what are its base stats, what's its speed, what type of move coverage does it get? Because that's their enjoyment out of the game. Other people just want to catch them all, right? Like the slogan. Other people just want to beat the main campaign, and that's fine. But to get rid of the hatching eggs mechanic and kind of the bare bones mentality of what Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is kind of making the hardcore fan base upset. So Chris, since this is another great topic to have you on for, since you're our guest, you're not the biggest Pokemon fan. You've played some of the campaigns, but does Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee appeal to you at all? Because that's who they're going towards. They're going for either people who haven't played Pokemon in a long time, or people who've never played, or that casual market who played Pokemon Go on their phone and might want to get it on the Switch.
Yeah, that's like the last time I really played Pokemon was when Pokemon Go first came out. What was that? 3 years ago?
2016, yeah.
So that was like the last time I actually really played, and you sent me some stuff on it earlier, and I looked into it a little bit, and honestly, I don't know if I'd go out and buy this game because I like to, as much as I don't play Pokemon as much as I used to, because I had the blue and yellow and red, I had those games, but when I play a game, you want to be challenged, and it feels like they took Pokemon and almost dumbed it down a little bit so it'd be easier for younger kids. It's then it doesn't appeal to someone that wants to be challenged with a game, especially a game like Pokemon where you usually know what you're getting into. They'll change things obviously as years go on, but you kind of know what you're getting into, and now they took what you knew and went backwards instead of forwards, and it doesn't appeal to me in that way because of that.
Right. Is that what they did? I didn't hear that. I thought they were just taking the first game and making it a little bit like Pokemon Go was.
No, yeah. So it's only random encounters are only by catches. Like you can't battle a Metapod, right? Something Chris and I talked about before we were recording was how you can't just walk into a gym. You can only get into the gym if you have a super effective type that beats that gym leader.
Oh,
which is so dumb.
Yeah, really dumb.
That's so dumb. It's you can go into the gym, but you have to have what you need to beat them first. It's but obviously that's what you're trying to go in with, but part of the challenge is going in with what you have. When you get to the gym, not I can't get in there until I have the exact right things to beat it. I don't. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I get that that's what you want to go in because that's how you are going to defeat it. But at the same time, when you're playing any other Pokemon game and you go to the gym, you go with what you have, you go with your strongest Pokemon, and that's the game. If you lose, then you have to, change your game plan. But to have to go in with the right certain ones, it's like they're playing the game for you almost.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. We had talked about that.
And that's such a great point, Schnabel, because the last couple generations, the community has complained so much about the hand holding in the recent games. No one's asking for Dark Souls for Pokemon, but especially Generation 7 with Sun and Moon and then Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, the game is playing itself. You have to wait for cutscenes. It tells you to walk here, and then you go there, and there's another thing telling you where to go next. And it is constantly leading your hand in the right direction. Where I was playing Gold on my 3DS on the Virtual Console a couple months ago, and I legitimately got lost. And I ended up doing one of the gyms out of order, and that happened to me when I replayed Yellow last year actually too. I got the 6th gym before the 5th. But I guess it's just that's what happens to me where I'm wandering around trying to figure out how to do it, and I was able to get through it, and we talk about with you can't go in unless you can pub stomp the gym leader. When I was a kid and I played Yellow, and Yellow is to this day still my favorite Pokemon game. If you try to fight Brock and you have Pikachu and you try to Thunderbolt the Onix, it's immune. It will not do any damage. And then that teaches you more about the typing advantage and everything. Okay, ground types are immune to electric. And you know what? Where Masuda is afraid that with that difficulty, kids are going to be thrown away, or gone away and go back to playing mobile games because it's too hard for them. That was hard. That was a hard lesson for me to learn when I was 6 years old. That Pikachu can't beat Onyx, regardless of what the anime says, because he beats. That's how he beats him. But I learned that lesson.
The quick attack, Joe Brown.
That was hard. And then I'm still a Pokemon fan 20 years later, right? So it's so nonsensical to say, well, we need to lower the barrier for entry even more, so that way kids don't go play other games, right?
Well, this is the thing. When you play an easy game, you're not gonna want to. You don't go out and you can't franchise it as much because you're not gonna go out and go. Oh, well, you're like, this game was easy. Why am I gonna go spend money on it? The reason that you continue to be a fan to this day, and I think it goes with everything like that people are fans of till the day they die, is because you had to do research on it, maybe inside the game, maybe outside the game, and you had to learn about the game so much that you became more interested in it because it goes in depth and you start learning more
and
about
the world
it. It's like
and the
anything
characters
you're gonna like.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's literally anything. It could be music, it could be sports, it could be games. Doesn't matter. It's if you have to go in depth and you start to enjoy what you're reading and you're starting to enjoy stuff like that, then you are going to stay with it longer than if it's just they tell you everything that you have to do. It's like, well, there's no learning in it because people want to learn about their games, people want to learn about their stuff. So if there's no learning in it, then why would I stick with it?
Yeah, like when we were kids and we were getting all the Pokemon games, like players guides were like a thing to have. Like it helped you, it guided you in what to do. Like players guides now like don't mean anything anymore to what it used to back in the day. Like I completely understand what you mean, Joe, by getting lost in like and accidentally going in the wrong direction, because like those games there's no like, oh, your next gym is down Route 46 and take a left at the light. Then you're there. It's like
it's like left at the light.
it's just like, hey, check it out. You're done. Bye. And then you have to figure everything else out yourself. And like where certain Pokemon are, when the Pokemon are out, time of the day that they're out. Like we had those players guides to be like, hey, here's a few pictures of where you need to go, and like here's where some of the Pokemon are. So you learn, like that's how you got to know the game, is you read this book, and then like you were the coolest kid when you could just be like, oh yeah, I know what to do. It's like, well, what, you don't need the player's guide? It's like, nah, dog, I know what's up. I've read the player's guide. Like I'm down.
That's a great point, because like I'm thinking about to this day, my brother and I, every new generation, we still buy the new Pokemon generation players guide, and we have a whole stack of them in our closet in our house, and like it's just a tradition that we've started all the way back from Pokemon Stadium 2, and then Generation 2 with Gold and Silver and onwards. We've always done it. But like with the player's guide, I bought the player's guide for Super Mario Odyssey, and it's much smaller, but like it's also big at the same time. Like it's a small book, but a lot of pages, if that makes sense. Because there's 880 moons, and there were like, you think I just paid $20 for a player's guide to help me find out which moons. I'm three moons short in Desert Kingdom, or Sand Kingdom, whatever. Like, okay, what's this one? The player guide will tell me. It doesn't even tell you. It's not even that helpful. I still have to go on YouTube to find out where the location is, because it's not as helpful as the guides used to be. So that's a pretty good point. I didn't even think about, like, I think about how games are just getting easier, but there's also less resources, I guess, directly involved with the game. Obviously there's more nowadays with YouTube and Google and everything, but for players, like how we had back in the day with all those player guides.
Yeah, like even like the Nintendo 64 players guides and like stuff like that. Like I have player's guide to I have the player's guide for Breath of the Wild, and it's not that helpful.
Right.
That game tells you what to do. It's like, oh, what are you gonna tell me, how to like beat this part for the shrine? Like, no, like that's what I have to figure out to do. Like, where are you gonna tell me where the shrine is? It's like, well, I guess you can, but like I'm gonna spot that from like a mile away because of how like the game is set up, and it tells you where to go, and it tells you what to do and stuff like that. So it's a good point.
So the last thing on this, and then we'll move on, is regarding the fact that there is no breeding or any advanced mechanics in the game. What is that funny?
It's funny because I was like the number. I remember when I first started like hanging out with you, Joe Brown. I was like, so what do you like to do? You're like, I like to play Pokemon, and I was like, oh well, like, what do you like to do in Pokemon? You're like, I'm the #1 EV breeder in the world, and I was like, get out of here! You are full of crap.
Yeah, how much time did I spend in college breeding Pokemon, Joe?
A lot.
Too much.
I just think it's funny. Like I don't know. I knew if that wasn't in the game that you were gonna bring it up. And
yeah.
Of course, here it is.
So yeah, like my favorite thing to do, trying to get like competitive Pokemon, and sometimes you hatch a shiny Pokemon out of it. But Masuda's comment directly being asked about why there isn't hatching or any eggs at all or breeding at all. Quote, so kind of at the basis of it, is that in the first generation, there aren't any Pokemon eggs. So, when we thought about how would these Pokemon be hatched in the first place, it kind of didn't make any sense. But also, we wanted to spend more time and put more effort into making the Kanto Pokemon, the original 151, as well made as possible and expressing them as well as we could be. You know what? That sounds like a perfectly reasonable, logical answer. There wasn't any breeding in Gen 1, so we're not going to have it in the Pokemon Yellow remake, right? Trick question, because you know what else wasn't in Generation 1? There weren't Mega Evolutions, there weren't abilities, which is also not in Pokemon Go. Alolan Sandslash, Alolan Executor, those Alolan forms that came out in Generation 7, Sun and Moon, 2 years ago, those weren't in Generation 1 either. Those weren't in the original Yellow, but they're in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Let's see, the Fairy typing, he's not turning Chansey and Wigglytuff and Clefairy back into normal types. Those Pokemon are now fairy types. There was no fairy type in Pokemon in Yellow 20 years ago. So just because it wasn't in the game 20 years ago doesn't mean it should be excluded. That's the whole point of the remakes up to this point of Fire Red and Leaf Green, of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire was remaking those older games with the newer mechanics. That's what ORS was all about, was adding the Mega Evolutions for Generation 3. Like, that's why it's so frustrating and such a slap in the face to, like, completely disregard a huge portion of the community that got you to this spot.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I was literally thinking of something to, like, add on to your thing, and it literally left my brain. I can't think about... Bug type. Aren't bug types still in the new one?
Yeah, bug types have been around the whole time.
I don't think they were in the original one. I thought they were just all grass types.
No, there was bug types. Because Scyther and Caterpie and Butterfree and them, they were all bug types.
I thought they were all grass types.
There was no... Oh, but that's a great point. Steel and Dark were added in Generation 2. So, like, Scizor, they had to make Steel and Steelix. Like, they couldn't have just been, without that. So they added Steel and Dark in Gen 2. So those typings were not in Yellow 20 years ago. So that's another point to add on to why just because eggs and breeding wasn't in Generation 1 doesn't mean it shouldn't be in the remake. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still gonna get the game because I'm a sucker. It still is fun, and Yellow is my favorite Pokemon game. So I played a demo of it at the World Championships. So I'm still going to play the game, but like I'm not gonna be happy about it.
Yes, you are. You're gonna be like, oh my god, Joe, I'm playing Pokemon. It's really good. I can't get over how good this game is.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I said all the bad things about it.
You're right. Chris, who's your favorite Generation 1 Pokemon?
My favorite Gen 1 Pokemon.
Choose wisely.
I don't know. Because I feel like I always started out with Charmander. Big Charizard guy, but that's super basic, so I didn't want to say that.
You can say that.
Hey, it's your life. It's your life.
Opinion, true.
If somebody likes spaghetti and meatballs, if that's their favorite food, you got to let them live their life, right?
That's true.
We ain't gonna judge you. We ain't gonna judge you here.
Good.
Is that so? Is that
I think
is
so
that your
it's-
favorite?
my answer. I think
Sorry.
Charles was gonna be my answer.
Man, you
I like-
basic.
I liked all those like the starter Pokemon, honestly.
Yeah,
So
mine's Bulbasaur.
mine is
He's my boy.
Eevee.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
That I knew.
Yeah, even Chris doesn't even play and he knows that one.
Yeah.
But I asked you that
we are
question
aware.
because there is a new mechanic or new end game, post game content that they just showed off a couple days ago called Master Trainers, and this is what the post game content is for after you beat the main storyline in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Basically, there is a Master Trainer for every single type of Pokemon. So there's 151 enemies in the NPCs in the game who are a master at a certain Pokemon. So I asked you your favorite just so you can see it with Charizard. There's a Charizard Master Trainer, and what you have to do to become the Master Trainer is beat the current Master Trainer, and you have to do a bunch of other objectives. So that's another way to add time. But let's say, what if your favorite Pokemon was Metapod, and all you knew was Harden? Well, there is a Metapod Master Trainer. There's a trainer for every single Pokemon in the game.
Are you kidding me?
But you don't have to beat the trainer. You have to beat them with that Pokemon. So if you want to beat the Electrode, if you want to be known as the Electrode Master, you have to beat them with an Electrode.
We silly. We doing silly things now in Pokemon.
So that's what the post-game content is of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Not breeding, God forbid.
I don't know, Jabron. I don't know. Chris, what do you got to say about this?
Going for the Magikarp Master Trainer.
Right.
You're gonna be the best splash man in the town.
The splishiest of the splashes, Chris Schnabel.
I can't wait to run into you on the battlefield and splash all over you.
All right, so we do have one last topic for you. A little unknown game we've never talked about on this show before called Marvel Spider-Man.
You mean the game we talked about for like 3 months until it came?
We've talked about it. I feel like it's been probably 8 or 9 weeks in a row we've had at least one segment revolving around Spider-Man. But before we do that, we're just gonna talk with Chris a little bit more about his program and off stage and the stuff he likes to do. So I remember when we were hanging out once, Chris, you showed me one of your videos, and you basically you do documentary style, I guess, videos or moments for different artists and creators to try to give them that help that they need, right? When they're not as popular or something, or they're trying to find that moment, that help to get on YouTube or to get their name out there. So you give them some semblance of like credibility and like, here's something like professional that was done with their art, right?
Yeah, so for them it helps for them it helps them with like you said, I wouldn't say as much credibility, but maybe marketing, because you have stuff behind you. You have a full documentary obviously behind you. Just about every documentary has an interview session, so you now have an interview session about yourself where you can talk about your band, how you started, things like that. We also record a full song for most of them. A couple of the upcoming ones, like the newest ones we did, we actually have we're actually recording people in studio, which is pretty cool. So you get like that behind the scenes look of these bands. But the biggest thing about it is they're all up and coming. So all these people, like for example, I'll go we did this rapper from Connecticut named Bravo, and he created a song for us, and we recorded him doing it, but he didn't have the right means at the time to get into a recording studio. So he actually had his own in-home studio, and it was like he had his computer, and then he had a piece of equipment that he needed, and then he did it in a closet with the door closed to get the right vocal sounds and stuff like that. Like, you get to see stuff like that. You don't. It's not behind the scenes where we go into a bunch of studios and you see all these, people that can afford to market themselves through, ads and things like that. You actually see these people that have to go out and try to sell their album, either on a street corner or they have to play at a bar every night because that's how they're getting their name out there. So it's nice to see stuff like that. It's nice to get that behind the scenes look of someone that is has that interesting background around them. So that's kind of what we follow. And right now we are looking at about 12 episodes, and they'll be airing on Thursdays starting January 3rd.
All right.
That's pretty awesome.
I'll make sure to tune in, and if you ever need help, you can always ask me, because I've seen like the I think you're gonna be like, I have, you never respond. No.
Get rocked.
No, I saw the one you showed me was Casey, because I'm on the website now, which is www.offstagefilm.com. Casey Grennan and Last Reach is the name of the band.
Yeah,
and, like, that was really cool. Like, you went through her whole day getting set up. Like, they were getting their hair and makeup done for a big a concert at night, and like you got to see the character and the back and forth with the band members and the main girl Casey. Like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's they cut ties with with Last Reach, so it's now just Casey Grennan or Casey Grennan Band. But that was a really fun one. Yeah, we followed them around. They did a charity show in New Hampshire, and we followed her. So when we shot that documentary, she was actually 14 years old at the time, and she was still in high school. And so we actually there's some shots of her going to class and stuff like that, because just like any other high schooler, she had to go to class and do her work and stuff like that. But then on the flip side, she was also playing a charity show that night with her band. So you see the first half is like a little bit of school, a little bit of getting ready, stuff like that. And then the second half is at the venue doing sound checks and interviews. And I think there's a photo shoot in there and stuff like that. And they're really good people. They're awesome people to be around. And we actually still keep in contact with them all the time. I actually just helped them shoot a music video recently. It's called Break Mine by Casey Grennan. It's out now. And that was a lot of fun, and they're just really good. And she's extremely talented, and she's definitely gonna make it somewhere someday once she finds the right representation and all that stuff. But she's extremely talented.
Dang, dog, where were you when I was in high school when I had a band? Crap. I recorded in my basement. We recorded our album in my basement.
Joe had a band and was in marching band. That's how much you love band.
How much I love music, dog.
Bandception.
Let's make a band, guys.
Do it.
Yeah.
It'll be Chris and the Joes. Oh no, please
the
don't.
Schwarbys, or what was it before?
Cup of Schwarbs.
Cup of Schwarbs. As I'm perusing the rest of the Offstage Film website here, Chris, I see you also did an interview with the one and only Waka Flocka Flame. How was that?
I think I missed that one.
We did that a little bit before, but I decided to kind of package it in with Offstage because of the stuff he talks about in it. Yeah, there's a couple interviews on there with some people, and we packaged them in there because the stuff that's talked about is kind of what we're reaching for. We actually have one, like, we did it for the site with Vince Papali, who is you probably know him from Invincible. You know, he was Mark Wahlberg in Invincible.
he was Mark Wahlberg.
We had him on right after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and when you're talking about people that are up and coming, he's like the best person to talk to for, at least in sports, because that's exactly what he was. So with Waka Flocka, it was great. It was he was a really fun interview. We got to do that one before one of his shows in Connecticut, and it was me and the co-producer of it, Brandon Gill, did that one. And
Gill!
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, Gill was there for that, and he was a cool dude. It was a good time, and it was cool to do it in person too, because the phone interviews are fun, but the in-person ones, I just feel like you get a better sense of the person, and the interview just kind of goes better.
Yeah.
I'm also looking here. You did an interview with the one, the only, H. John Benjamin.
Yeah, Joe was with me at that.
I was on that one. I was on the Hannibal Buress one as well.
What?
Yeah. This was
That
back
one
when we
and
were in
Hannibal
college,
Buress,
Joe.
yeah.
We did those two.
I
I
did not
was
know-
I
I'm
was
very upset.
sweating
I
for the
didn't
H.
know
John
about
Benjamin
that.
one. I was so nervous.
Back in my college days, we had a couple of celebrities on.
Yeah,
Joe
Chris.
ended
So
up
for
joining
everyone,
the show
Chris
at
is a
some point.
Chris is a great producer because like he just tries, like he just does things, and it's like if they say no, it doesn't hurt, but it's a good thing. At least I tried because sometimes they'll say yes. So
Although I'll tell you right now, we've had some cool no's.
I was gonna ask, has anyone prominent ever replied to one of your emails?
I think the coolest no we've ever had. Well, I'll tell you two cool no's. The first one I'll tell you is my personal favorite, and that was when we got a no from Tom Hanks.
Oh my god!
Of all time.
Was it
'Cause
like
it's
super nice?
It's super nice. It's like, oh, sorry, shooting schedule, and we just can't do it. It's like, oh well.
I thought he just said no. I thought he replied no.
No. There are some that just like, no thanks. It's like, okay. Thanks, dude. But another really cool one was when I was doing my show in New Haven. We tried to get Taylor Swift on, and she just couldn't do it because it was a college radio station, and she probably didn't want to. But what they did is they sent us like thousands of dollars worth of gear to give away on the show. It was like shirts and
Oh, I remember this.
Whoa!
Yeah.
and phone cases and records and all this stuff. And we added it up, and it ended up being like $3,700 worth of stuff they sent to us to give away because she couldn't get on the show, which was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's
Do you
incredible.
still have the do you still use the phone case, the Taylor Swift phone case?
No, that unfortunately has met its demise, and it is no longer with us.
That was so funny.
It fell apart.
Oh,
But I did. I
man.
used it for years. I think I used that thing for 4 years.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. It was
Yeah.
iconic at that point.
Did you use it until you were feeling 22?
Damn.
Got a little over 22. A little over 20.
A little over.
I switched it at 22, actually. I had to go to the back half of Taylor's career now.
Yeah.
Had to get something really
Over the
fun.
hill at like she's like 26 years old. Over the hill.
Yeah.
I
used it for years.
What a
and
show
then
that was, huh, Chris?
broke apart.
Wednesday
Yeah.
night BS Brown Schnabel
Yeah.
Bull Bleep. Ah.
I think
Oh my
in
God.
2.5 years that
That was-
show
that was
on,
after you
it had, like,
graduated, Joe.
17 name changes.
Was it?
That was after you graduated. We had the show, right? Senior year Schnabel.
You said it was 2 years.
I had the show since I got to New Haven because Nikki and I used to do the show for.
Right. Yeah, you did that. Yeah. Oh, and then who was our other huge guest that we had on?
Who was the other guest we had?
He had a whole
Aaron
day.
Carter.
Aaron Carter. Is that what you
That was a
said?
big.
He had
that
a
was a
whole
big-
day on campus. Like it
Yeah.
turned into a thing.
I remember
it
that.
was
I
like a
actually
huge
do
event.
remember
He
that.
did the interview. He did like a meet.
Man, Aaron Carter.
Yeah, that was
Man.
cool.
Man, I
That
just
was cool. He wasn't a bad dude.
He
But
was
then,
very
the next day,
nice.
he got arrested.
what? What
there's
did he
that.
get arrested for?
I don't know, he tried to fight someone at a gas station or something. I don't know.
Sounds about right.
The next week or
Sounds
something. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds about, he's
Sounds
like,
about
oh,
right is exactly what it is. I do remember he invited all of us to the concert that night, and Joe and I were just like, "No, we're not gonna go to an Aaron Carter concert."
Yeah,
Why
we just
not?
spent like 3 hours with you, and you were like super respectful and really nice, and we're very grateful that you did this thing for us, Aaron. But we're not
But
gonna,
no.
we're not gonna go to your concert.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
support your music.
But he, I think Nikki did go to that though.
Yeah,
I think she went
we'll
to the
tell
concert.
Joe some stories off air
Yeah.
about
Let's
the
get
Aaron
to the
Carter
we have-
Day.
There's so many of these. Let's continue with the games.
Yes.
Wait,
So
is
again,
there something bad? Wait, I want to go. Is there something bad that happened when Aaron Carter was on campus?
no. It's just not pod friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So-
just like the story I have about when Kid Cudi came to
I
campus.
know what story he wants
Yeah.
to tell, and it's not even. It doesn't even really involve Aaron Carter as a person.
No.
If the story I'm thinking of is correct.
It is exactly what you're thinking of. Yes. All right. So
let's
for
do this. You
anyone,
tell me this story
so
before I
just
have to go.
the last thing, Chris, where can we find you? The website is www.offstagefilm.com. But what about you?
Well, let me just plug a couple more. Official Offstage, Facebook.com/official offstage is our Facebook. That's where most of our stuff gets put. And then if you put Offstage Film into Twitter or Instagram, you can also find it there. Me, for myself, you can go to chrisschnabel.com. It's ChrisSchnabel.com. And that has all my other video stuff. And you can check out my reel and other things I've done. And you can also go on Facebook and put in Chris M. Schnabel, M as in Mary Schnabel. And you can find my Facebook page there, although I don't update it as much as I probably should.
All right. And
All right.
again, thank you for coming on and being our first ever guest on Cup of Joe's. So we brought you on specifically for this topic because you are, like Joe and I, another huge Spider-Man fan, and you actually 100% of the story of Spider-Man before I did. So that shows just how dedicated you were to the game when it came out. So earlier this week, or last week, I guess, at this point now that we're in a new week, the first DLC mission came out, first Marvel Spider-Man, called The Heist, and it was revolving around Black Cat and some of the hijinks that she has been up to. So we're just gonna have a little 10-minute conversation here about what we thought about it and things we liked, things we didn't like. One thing I didn't like was having to restart my game multiple times because I had multiple crashes and bugs and glitches. I don't know if you guys had any of this problem, but and this will be a spoiler talk. So if you haven't played The Heist yet, go play it. It's an hour and a half long. It's really not that long. That's not that too much of an investment for you. But so this is a spoiler-filled discussion of The Heist. But I had multiple times where I was Mary Jane, you play as her, and the screen was just black, and everything was going on in the background, and she was talking, and I could hear when I'm hitting the controller, I could hear it walking and hitting into walls and boxes and stuff, but my screen was black, and I had to restart the game, and there were other visual glitches and things. It was not very polished at all, for me at least.
No, and I think because if you remember, they didn't really announce anything until more recently. So I might think that maybe they were still working on a story, and that's why they didn't just polish it up as well. Because I had the same problem. All I did though is hit the map button, and it just fixed itself. I don't know what exactly it was, but I would hit the map button and it would come on. But I had the same problem. People would talk in the background and stuff. I'd be like, "What's going on?" I want to see what's happening, and it wouldn't come on.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? Or sorry, Joe.
I don't know. Nothing like that really happened to me yet because I still haven't beat it.
Oh my god. I was so worried about this moment the last 3 days when I messaged him every day to beat it.
I think I beat it in 45 minutes, but I played straight.
Oh my!
Through,
it is very quick to beat it.
Yeah.
All right, so what part
though.
did you get through, Joe?
Just the beginning museum phase, and I found the first painting of the DLC.
All right, well, we're gonna spoil this for Joe. So
I don't really care. Yeah, I don't
Wait.
care. You can totally do that.
I will tell you my least favorite part of the heist one.
Okay.
It's finding those paintings.
Painting, and you have to chase the damn pigeon. I hate the chase the pigeon one.
Thank you.
Oh, I hate those pigeons. I hate the pigeons.
So dumb. And the one where the pigeon steals it, and you're just now I gotta do another one of these stupid pigeon ones.
Yeah.
I hated doing that in the normal game. I'd be swinging around, being my spooter self, and I'd be spootering and climbing up walls, and all of a sudden it would just be like, Phew! And like this thing would start flying. I'd be like, what is happening? It'd be like, catch the pigeon, and I'd be like, oh, they started it, so I might as well just go catch this pigeon. It was just like I was in the middle of doing like 5 other things.
And it was like super dramatic music whenever the pigeon came into the thing, like a bunch of drums beating and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I was like,
might as well have been
what did I
fighting
do?
Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, what did I do? Who's here? But like, yeah, it was always this pigeon. And then I was really hoping like maybe after I get all these pigeons, like maybe like a secret will appear. And it was just like, not really. Just, oh yeah, you should come down to the feast and we could talk about it.
We could talk about the pigeons you caught.
Yeah. Like,
all right, so let's
It's
talk
like-
about the heist then. So Joe, did you at least get to the part where Black Cat says they kidnapped her son or whatever, and that's why she's fighting them?
no.
Okay, so that's basically the whole premise of this DLC thing.
Whose kid is it?
Right. Well, if you spent another hour, you would have found out. But basically, she says she's not trying to steal from the bad guys from the mafia just for being bad. They kidnapped her son, and that's why she's doing it, which Peter then gets in a frenzy because him and Black Cat used to date. He hasn't seen her for a couple of years. He tells Mary Jane. Mary Jane's not too happy about it because he's worried that he's a father, all this stuff, all these, a lot of drama going on. Chris, from the moment she said they kidnapped her son, I called BS right away. I was not tricked at all because I was like, well, they didn't tell us how many years they dated ago. Was it 5 years ago? Has he not seen her in 5 years? Does she have a 5-year-old son that Spider-Man's never heard about? But then I was like, wait a second. What if she actually did have her son get kidnapped, but it was a cat? You know what I mean? And like they stole her cat, and to her that would be her son. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty sneaky, Insomniac. I like what you did there. Nope. She just says, oh, sorry, Spidey, I lied to you. Lol, bye.
Again.
If you go on the Marvel website, I was trying to look for my phone because I have it. They actually have like comics that are associated with the heist. And
really?
If you read the comics, you'd know that she was just BSing him. But that's just her. That's also her personality, though. So it's like when she's like, "I have a son," it's like, "Do you?"
Like you're a liar,
right?
How did you and Spidey?
But Peter
date?
Parker's a genius, and he's sitting there. Oh my God! I have to tell Mary Jane I'm a dad.
Girls.
Yeah, we all know that. Like from playing
through
the game, you could totally tell that it's like Peter needs a little work with the women. Like you could tell.
He knows the science, but not the females.
He doesn't know the calculation to love. I loved that first thing with the art museum and like fighting the different guys and having to try to stop them from getting out. Like that was really fun. So I hope the rest of the DLC does like more missions like that, where it's not just tied to beat up the bad guys until there aren't bad guys anymore. It is like beat them up with these other stipulations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I really liked in the beginning, like one of my favorite things to do is when you do the vent grab, like for when you're sneaking around and trying to take out people, and you can kind of freely do it in that one. Where in other ones you can freely do it, but there's never anyone in position to do it. Like in this one, there were actually people in position to do that move.
For you to take them down and stuff.
Yeah, you know how like when you're at the top of the vent and you can throw them up into the vent and stick them to the top of the vent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
There's really, like during the gameplay, there's a couple times you can do, but there's really not that many. I really like that you can do that, and it kind of gives you more freedom to do stuff like that, which is nice.
Pretty dope. I'm down.
Yeah, and so there was another character who was a police officer that, let's say, he was asking for Spider-Man's help and on a 20-year-old crime of Black Cat's father, he
knows that because he said he's going for the painting.
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh, okay. You know that guy? Okay, so that guy, he's trying to solve these mysteries of where these paintings are or art things are that Black Cat's father stole like 20 years ago or whatever.
Oh, please tell me the cop is the actual father.
Thank you, Joe. How easy was it to tell that was gonna
It
happen?
was so easy to figure that out.
Oh my god. I need all these paintings because my old bones can't get up to these places anymore.
I can't get to him, but here's every exact location to all the painting.
From 20 years ago.
How do you know where all these paintings are?
Detective work.
I've got a great memory in my old age.
Even if he was just like, I am the Black Cat, I'd be like, all right, dope. Here you go.
I am the Black Cat. Like he's like, I am Batman. And then Peter be like, what? Wrong series.
Who? A guy dressed as a bat? Okay.
So even though I
why
knew that one was coming, I was still more okay with that one than the Sun one. You know what I mean? That reveal.
Yeah, like that was a better, like, even though it was predictable, it's like the Sun one was way too predictable. Like way too predictable.
First off, yeah.
Second off, next topic.
Second off, Black Cat, get rocked. we knew it. We wouldn't have fallen for it.
One of my friends posted on Facebook. It was like, okay, we have a new contender. It's like, what kind of guy are you? Are you a Mary Jane guy, a Gwen Stacy guy, or a Felicia Hardy guy? And then he posted all three of the photos, and then, like, the top comment was like, I think you're forgetting somebody, and it was Aunt May, and he was like, oh crap, you're so right.
Is it Aunt May from the games?
From
Aunt
Spider-Man,
from the new
from
series. Where
PS4.
she's a smoke.
Whoa.
Marissa Tomei.
Hey.
Hey.
I like the memes that were coming out when the new Spider-Man was coming out, where it was just like, what was it? It was like Aunt May and Spider-Man in the original ones, and then it was like she was really old, and like Peter looked pretty old too. And then it was like Aunt May and Spider-Man in the Andy Garfield ones, and it was like, okay, she's a little bit younger now, and Peter's a little bit younger now, but they're still kind of like whatever. And then it's like Aunt May and Spider-Man in the newer ones. And she's like smoking hot, and Peter looks like a little like 16-year-old kid, like he's supposed to. And then it's like next series of Spider-Man, Aunt May is a 16-year-old girl, Spider-Man's 5 years old. Like,
Yeah. Oh my god, I'd watch.
Of course you would. Yeah, I'd be down.
I'd be down. I'm down for anything Spider-Man related.
Like the Spideyverse. Sorry.
Yeah, that comes out. That comes out in December. Joe and Chris, you guys gonna see the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse or whatever animated movie?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Nicolas Cage is Spider-Man Noir. How am I not gonna go see that movie? John
What?
Mulaney is Spider-Ham.
Wow, you sold me on it. I've already been sold on it, but I'm doubly sold now.
Wait, you didn't
Nicolas
know
Cage.
that? You didn't
I didn't know
that
Nicolas.
Cage?
I knew John Mulaney was Spider-Ham. I didn't know Nicolas Cage. No.
Yeah, he's Spider-Man Noir.
Oh my god, that's so good. Okay, last thing that we talk about this, because that just reminded me, since we're talking about the movie about Miles Morales is coming out. He does have a little bit of dialogue with Peter here. It's like saying he wants to be trained and he wants to, get better at his spider powers. And Peter's like, no, it's too dangerous. You're only 15. Like, you could get hurt. And then he's
Wait a
like,
minute,
yeah,
that kid's
but you
supposed to-
started at 15, Peter. And he's like, yeah, but now that I'm so awesome, you don't have to risk your life. Blah blah. So
Wait a
I
minute.
think the DLC really, I don't think we'll play as Miles at all in any DLC in any of this game. But I think
Wow.
it really is I mean, we'll do the first person, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he won't be Spider-Man until the next game is what I'm saying. I think they really are setting up that transition from Peter into Miles. And that's why we haven't seen Gwen Stacy, because Gwen Stacy is also in Miles' universe, where she's his age. Excuse me. So he could be her love interest if he takes over as a protagonist, where Peter's got Mary Jane. You know what I mean? So I want to see if in the next two things, sure, we're gonna get more with Black Cat, but if they're going to continue down this line, leading us towards being Miles in the next game and not Peter Parker.
Why would they do that? We just literally set up Venom and the Green Goblin.
Maybe he plays both. I don't know.
Oh, maybe it'll be like in like the Arkham games where when you're doing like you have like those like special tag team matches with Robin or
Right.
Nighthawk every now and again. Maybe it'll be that.
Well, because
That'd be
they
dope.
like this video game universe is like its own universe as well.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
they
saying.
can
That's
kinda
why
go
they would
their own
make Gwen
direction.
Stacy be Miles' age instead of Peter's age. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they don't say anywhere that because technically in the like the age that Peter is, she would have been dead for years already. So
Right.
I don't think they say anything like that in the game though. So
No, they don't mention her
could
or her
absolutely do
father,
it.
and her father also in Spider-Man's universe dies. You know,
Yeah.
in Peter's universe. So
Yeah,
Everybody's dead.
that's
Sorry.
comic books.
and they all come
Seriously.
back.
Do you think at the end of the game do you think you could play as both, or do you think at the end of the last DLC the Peter Parker Spider-Man dies and the next game you're Miles Morales?
No, they
there's
wouldn't
no
kill
way
him off in DLC.
There's no way we're dropping Peter
Could
already.
you imagine?
But
might
I
fight
wouldn't like that
somebody.
because then, like, what's Mary Jane gonna do in the second one? And like,
Die.
Miles.
she just
No!
dies too.
Ah! Wait, I want to go back. Let's go back to what Chris said. How old are they supposed to be in this game? Like
23.
23? Hey, what's up, big boy?
Go
I hear you're like a 16, 17-year-old boy.
He's 15.
You want some of this? Oh, I'm assuming that it's gonna maybe be a few more years.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Peter dies, and he's gonna be like,
right when Miles Morales is 18. It'll be the
Yeah,
next
so
one.
it's legal.
oh man, even better.
It's like, I
I'm a
gotta.
fully grown adult who pays bills, and you're going to college.
to Empire State University. Don't forget that.
Oh man, this relationship is totally gonna work out.
I gotta jump from one Spider King to the next, you know?
I just can't get enough Spidey sense, if you know what I mean.
Oh my god. Chris, why did you put that into our brains? So
Oh my god! All right.
alright, I think it's so just so we know, the other two titles, so that was The Heist. So that was mainly about Black Cat. The next one is called Turf Wars, which is in November, and in December is called Silver Lining. Turf Wars is going to be about the mafia guys that Black Cat's been robbing in this DLC. I'm assuming makes sense. Silver Lining, I guess, will be the resolution to beating the mafia guys. It seems pretty stable. Do you think it would have been better to release all three of these as one DLC, or do you like that they're doing one at a time?
I like that they're doing it one at a time because I seem to beat it in 40 minutes. So
That's why I don't like that they're doing it one at a time.
Man, Chris is just too good. Everybody get as good as Chris.
well, I'd rather like beat it quickly and then I can work on like other parts of the game. Like right now I'm doing the plus, like after you beat it 100% and you could do it at ultimate level. That's what I'm doing now. So like if they released it all at once, I don't know. I'd rather be in pieces so I have something to look forward to in the game.
That's
I
fair.
agree. It just adds more to the story without, because like me and we all binged that game. Like we beat that
Yes.
game pretty quick. Like
Yeah, you
I was
can't
playing
not.
it.
It's just so addicting. Like
Yeah,
the story's so good and you just like once you start playing, you just keep going.
yeah. Like I was playing it and I beat it and I was like, yeah, I beat Spider-Man. And they're like, did you just get that game on Friday? I was like, yeah. What's your point?
Yeah.
I'm done. I finished. Like, man, all right.
Yeah, I would have preferred if it just if we had known, I would have preferred if it came out in December, 3 months in, and we just get the whole thing in one shot, just so I can get through it. Because I feel teased right now. You know what I mean? Like
That's
I
the
just
point.
got back. Right. I don't have to like it.
Brown, that's the point of being teased.
It's to like being teased.
No, it's to,
I'm
like,
ticklish, Joe.
that's not. Wait, tickling and being teased are two different things, man.
All right, we'll have this conversation off the air.
All right. All right. Well, anyway, that's been another episode of Cup of Joe's. I've been your host, Joe. Always followed by my good friend Joe Brown with our special.
You don't have a last name, Joe?
I forgot it. And our special guest this week, Chris Schwarbles, or
Schnabel.
I like Schwarbles.
It sounds like the I like turtles kid. I like Schwarbles.
I like Schwarbles.
So thanks for coming on, Chris. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Please check out his website. It's a really dope website. I haven't been listening to what you two are talking about. I have been looking at it and quietly listening to interviews of these people that are on here and all that other stuff. So once again, his website is www.offstagefilm.com. And go support our bro.
Flocka!
Oh God, I thought you said something else. I'm like, Joe Brown, we're supposed to be a good podcast.
I said Waka Flocka's name. Sorry.
Flocka.
Bow, bow, bow. Oh my God! Thank you, Chris, for being on the same wavelength as me there.
I got you.
Wow. All right.
Bow,
Well,
wow.
Join us again next week, everybody.
Next week we're gonna do the Fallout 76 beta, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna play it tomorrow.
All right, and we'll give our impressions on Red Dead Redemption a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta start playing that too. Man, sneak peek into next week.